Yes, yes,
Finally,
yes, clearly.
you
Oh,
cracked it.
This,
Great,
this,
great.
this excitement is much more than crossing a ocean. Thank you so much.
That's the tech challenge for us. Yes.
Oh my goodness, and it's quite embarrassing, when you say that, hey, we've got the most reliable Instagram available to connect us, and then yeah. Anyway, it's a very odd start, but I'm really happy to get connected. Those who have joined us, good evening to everyone. This is a very, very special Instagram live session, special for multiple reasons. Because this is the first time I'm going to talk to an endurance athlete who's not a runner. Okay. But somebody who had several accomplishments in the oceans, we can't even think about seeing a water, but, imagining or even having the thought process of somebody swimming and crossing oceans is really kind of blowing my mind. By the way, those who have joined here, my name is Coach K. I'm the race director, founder of Ooty Ultra, Bison Ultra, and Madurai Ultra. I'm here to present you Srikaanth. Srikaanth Viswanathan is not just an accomplished marathon swimmer, but somebody who has pushed the boundaries of human endurance. And you will shortly hear his story because ultra marathon has given me a lot of opportunity to explore the human performance and self-exploration, to also witnessing how many individuals can cross several boundaries in their life and achieve something remarkable. Because it's not just the physical aspect of training for a marathon and crossing the boundaries, but it's also, there's a lot of things that goes in our mind. Because even in the world of ultra marathon, we say that it's just 30 to 40% is physical, and 70% or 60 to 70% of the effort that you put in is mind related. Now, Srikaanth, thank you very much for joining us today. How are you doing, and which part of the world are you right now?
Thanks, Kay, for having me here, part of this group. I'm so excited and so honored to be, amidst the ultra runners, right? I can never, imagine myself running 20, 30, 40, 70, 90K that you other day mentioned about. I can swim, but not certainly can't think of running that kind of distances. I'm really honored to be here in the midst and happy to share my journey, my learning. If it can make an impact to even one person, I'm very, very glad to have contributed to that.
Now,
I'm pretty much based, sorry.
please go ahead.
Yeah, pretty much based out of Bangalore right now. I'm taking this call from Bangalore. And yeah, so I'm very, very excited to share.
Now, I can only think about one, a couple of words, inner strength, right? So we always talk about, hey, we need to have inner strength, we need to have focus, we need to have determination. I'm sure we're going to explore all those things today. So your journey, Srikant, is certainly nothing short of extraordinary, right? At the age of 33, you experienced a near-death experience in a swimming pool. Hey, here we go. I'm talking to somebody who has crossed multiple oceans, not in a ship. I can proudly say I've crossed maybe the 7 oceans, flying 50,000 feet above the ocean. But for you, I think it's something that started as a traumatic experience. And now you're fearless, I would say, because, even thinking about oceans are quite scary. As I remember, my hydraulics and thermodynamics professor in the first class opening statement was, never pick a fight with water. Okay, the water is so powerful. It's mighty. It's powerful. Now, did you really know on that day when you had this traumatic experience, you would be crossing all these oceans?
No, not even in my wildest dreams. I, in fact, was very, very reluctant to go back to the pool the next day. It was so traumatic, I could really, experience the final moments. Literally, I could see my life flash in front of my eyes, and it was really a very traumatic experience, which kept lingering on for many years to come, actually. Yeah.
And what basically prompted you to even get onto swimming, and then when did you really think about ocean swimming? Because somebody who had some kind of a defining moment at a swimming pool would run away from pool and water. How did it all start? Why ocean swimming?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe a little context I will share, okay, here. So basically, I was not a swimmer in my younger days, and I always wanted to do, but for whatever reason, I could not do. So, but then during my mid 30s, I had a ligament issue, and which kind of compelled me to take up an alternate sport because I was pretty active on the cricket field. I was playing for the corporates and so on. So that kind of gave me a segue to explore something, beyond the land. And yes, the inclination to learn swimming was there, so I picked it up, and I fell in love with the sport. Actually, that's what changed the whole dynamics, right? I really enjoyed the sensation of floating in the water, and I really wanted to. All I wanted to do was just continue to be there in the water for much longer. And that is when I also realized that perfecting the technique is the only way I can stay in the water without getting tired, without really, feeling very exhausted. So I started focusing on, upskilling and, making sure my technique is as efficient as possible. It was not about speed, it was not about anything else, but more of efficiency. And that is where I started doing. And then it gradually transformed to a point where I felt the pool was becoming a limiting factor because you realize that I could actually spend 2, 3 hours swimming in the 25 meters pool. It's like a fish tank, right? You keep going back and forth, back and forth. After some time, it becomes very monotonous. And yeah, but out of sheer, I don't know, I will probably use the word calling here. I think that was a calling for me that I had. And along with a group of friends, we decided to venture out into the sea. And that's where the whole, the journey was born. The ocean swimming journey was, open water journey was born. And from there on, I kept building on, from strength to strength. And it was not easy in the beginning. And to be honest, I'm sure I know if many of you, if you have been in the pool, you will really appreciate the clarity of water, the clarity of the bottom of the pool. Whereas moment you put your head inside in a sea or even in a lake, for that matter, everything is dark. It's very, very intimidating, in the initial stages. But then the freedom to continue swimming without having the need to do a flip turn or do a turn at the end of 25 meters was very, very liberating for me. It was like, yeah, suddenly I was kind of opened out to a bigger ocean. And then that became a huge addictive factor. And I just felt like I should be there in the ocean forever. And that's how I kind of graduated to ocean swimming. But yes, it was definitely a lot of mental challenges that I had to overcome, considering the initial trauma that I had, and then I also had a lot of cramping issues and so on, which was always bothering me. If it cramps in the pool, I could always, stand in the shallow end, hold the wall, and you could, relax your muscle and so on. Whereas in the ocean, you have nothing to cling on to. So you have to be there out on your own self-confidence, and you have to believe in your ability to do, to come back, swim back to the shore, right? So those are really quite a bit of a mental challenge that I had to overcome over the years.
No, that's
And
it's
yeah,
incredible because see, I won't call myself as a swimmer. It's actually a disgrace to swimming and the swimmers if I say I'm a good swimmer. But yeah, I can probably dive into one end of the pool and then probably come outside safely inside a pool environment. Because even thinking about somebody have to learn swimming in a pool and then going into the ocean, it's a huge jump. It's a big leap, right? So if I have to draw parallels to the world of running, somebody starting to walk, to jog, to run shorter distances, and thinking about running an ultra marathon, yes, of course, it's a big leap.
Mhm.
Because it's not just about a linear progression, right? You're as you rightly mentioned, you had issues with cramping. You can't even stretch your muscles when you're swimming. Now, can you describe the mechanism of this channel swimming? When we say channel swimming, what does that mean? And what are the rules of the games? Because even in a marathon, we say that, hey, you know what? When you're swimming, you can't take a bike ride in between. You're going to be on your foot, but you're allowed to walk. You're allowed to crawl. You're allowed to jog. You're allowed to kind of take rest in between. You can sit. But
Okay.
I can't even imagine how the rules of the games are, especially when it comes to swimming in open water, where you have no idea of where you are in terms of the water, and the depth is not very visible to you. Even the ocean shore is not visible. Direction sense is kind of gone. How do you really go? Can you just walk us through
Yeah,
the channel swimming process?
sure, sure. No, it's a great question. See, first and foremost, the open water swimming regulations, the International Open Water Association regulations mandate that we have a dress code. We basically have a costume code. For women, there is prescribed costume. For men, just the trunks with single cap, goggle, and you cannot wear any kind of wetsuit, any kind of buoyancy aiding suits. So that is first and foremost, and you are not allowed to have a tow float and use any kind of buoyancy aiding device. And the second thing is while yes, you're right that ocean is so vast you can get lost, but thankfully the rules also mandate that you are not swimming on your own. There is always an escort boat and there is a crew which monitors you. There is an observer, neutral observer who's monitoring you, making a note of all that you are doing and you are not doing, and so on. And so the navigation is primarily left to the boat
Oh,
to ensure that the swimmer is taken in the quickest path, possible path. But however, the boat is only moving at the speed of the swimmer, so the boat is not racing ahead, right? So it's like your paper boat in a stream of water. It just drifts along with the stream, along with the current, just like how a swimmer would be. So yes, every now and then the boat will try to course correct to try and bring back, but then if the swimmer is not able to cope up with that current, it is going to get drifted along with the boat. But then
and
yes, you're
you're not allowed to. If I'm right, you're not allowed to touch the
yes.
boat or
I was about to come to that. Yes, you cannot touch the boat. You cannot, even while feeding, you cannot hold the boat to have the feed. So you have to be at least a few meters away from the boat or even the kayak. In some of the swims, we have kayaks accompanying the swimmer. So we have to, maintain our physical distance, between the kayak and the swimmer. So it's pretty stringent and it's a sacrosanct. Actually, the rules are sacrosanct and nobody likes to deviate. Nobody wishes to take a deviation. And it is the same rules with which actually Matthew Webb, who first swam the English Channel 150 years ago, it is the same rules that are still being followed. And that is the level of consistency that they want to maintain. And the history, the record books are, exactly maintained in the same, with the same kind of rules and
okay.
regulations.
Okay, interesting. And how do you? I think this is a question that my mind is exploring a lot of questions. And in the interest of time, I'm going to probably ask a few of them. How do you get fueling? Your hydration. What do you drink? What do you eat in terms of? I don't know if you're allowed to eat any solids. How do you poop?
Yeah.
So, peeing, I understand the pool, we can let it
Yeah.
go, but
Yeah.
it does not happen. These are like a lot of
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me start with the input first.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, typically, I mean, there is no restriction on what you can eat.
Okay.
However, because we are out in the ocean, the currents have a major say in, all these breaks that you take. So typically, in an English channel, if you say the currents are all every 6 hours it changes direction. You are swimming perpendicular to the direction of the current. So
Ah,
if you stay put, you are not actually staying in the same spot. You are actually drifting by, few meters every 10, 20 seconds. So if you stay without swimming, you will be out
there's
by
nothing
at least
more.
100, 200 meters sideways, not towards the French shore. You will be pushed sideways. So our feeds have to be extremely quick, normally 30 seconds, even less than a minute. And in order to achieve that kind of a timeline, obviously solids will take more to chew and munch and swallow. So most of the times we prefer liquid diets, be it
Okay.
electrolytes, carbs, and everything that we take is predominantly more in the liquid form.
Okay.
And yeah, so that is the biggest challenge too, because after 6, 7 hours, I typically get a huge craving for solid food,
Okay.
and it is always very, very tough to keep your focus when your tummy is really, craving for. So I opt for bananas. I quickly munch on bananas.
So
Yes.
your head is out, and then somebody is handing over this banana, and then you
Yeah.
eating.
Usually
You're
they hand it
totally not
over
doing
through a pole with a small basket. So it's about
it.
5, 6 meter long pole sometimes. And or you have sliced banana put in a shaker and then thrown towards you with a rope attached. So we do all kinds of circus to ensure that the swimmer is fed well.
And all those things are happening with the belief that the shark is not interested in your banana, right?
Shark is not looking at us for looking at me
You
for
are
its
the banana,
breakfast.
banana.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, yeah, I will come to that point. Yeah, but yeah, so coming back to the output part, yes, you're right. It's sometimes very awkward. Of course, peeing is fine, anyway, the water is salt and adding more, little bit more will not make a big difference. Of course, I would hate to do that. I would hate to say that I do that in the pool. I've never done that. I believe the pool has to be maintained in the way. Um, but in the ocean, in the sea, when you are particularly in the long swims, you have to relieve yourself. In fact, it is one of the criteria that we typically the observers check. If you need, they need to ensure that the kidney function is good
Yes.
because you're taking so much of
Mm,
fluids, it needs to
mm,
get flushed out. So there is a periodic question that the observer will ask, did
yes.
you pee? When did you pee? They make a note of it. There are people who can't pee, but particularly when it is extremely cold, you
And
cannot relieve yourself.
right.
So and then it ends up building up inside you. So too much of water accumulation in the body. So that's also very dangerous. So that's the reason why it's also kept as a safety point to check. But when it comes to poop, yes, it's not very easy. It's not very convenient. It's very awkward. So, thankfully, I've not had the necessity so far, but I don't think it is going to be the case always. There will be
Okay.
times, and I know that when some of the relays, my teammates had to relieve himself or herself. Yeah, typically they just stay behind maybe a few hundred meters and then do the job and come back. But it's not uh, yeah, it's not a very convenient or comfortable experience to first go through. Yeah, but yes, you cannot hold any of these back during those
And,
swims. Your mind cannot be
and
at rest.
what about poop? Poop is, have you had a situation where you feel like, the ocean, a big ocean for a two bathroom? How do you manage that? How did you manage that? Have you had such experience? This is
Sorry, could you please repeat that, Kay?
in case if you have to, peeing is easy. We talked about
Yeah,
that. What about
yeah.
pooping in the ocean? Are you,
No,
how do
I've not had
you
that. Yeah, I've not
do
had the
it?
experience. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So if you say multiple hours of swimming, and I understand, I remember running the entire 100-mile race, 28 hours, never felt the
Felt
need for
yes,
pooping in
yes.
between. I think our system automatically
Yeah,
shuts down.
no, no,
with
that's
being at
exactly
something.
the point here. Your mind
Okay.
starts actually, probably
Okay.
understands the complexity of doing all that, and yeah, thankfully not had the urge but I've had situations when I was swimming in a relay, and that person had to relieve himself, and yeah, that is yeah
Okay.
common.
Now, one question. So you mentioned that one of your favorite sayings is life begins at the end of our comfort zone. This looks like it, right? Because you've had a life for yourself, and especially getting recognized as a child swimmer. It basically it resonates with endurance athletes like me, and I'm sure there are going to be many others who are watching and also will end up watching this.
Hmm.
Now, what is that specific moment in your training or life when stepping outside the comfort zone led to a breakthrough or a significant personal growth? I'm relating this to this because we can always draw parallels between this ocean world and let's say
Yes.
the land world. And then, in fact, one of my academy mates, Shengapa, so asked this question: any real life examples how lessons learned in the ocean were applicable at the land? Let's say in your real life. And if you could probably talk about that, that'd be great.
Sure, sure. Actually, that's a very interesting question. For me, it started from the point where I moved from a pool swimming to the open water swimming. Leave the ocean swimming, just open water swimming, in a lake or in a sea. That was a big moment to let go of the comfort zone, what I was having. As I mentioned, with all the cramping happening, I always wanted to have the comfort of being able to stop and release or relax my muscle and so on. So that was my first moment of change. This is even before the other thing that happened, the drowning happened, and then I had to come out of that safe comfort mode and continue to swim in the deep end of the pools and so on. But I think I really like the saying, I read somewhere once that, everything that we want in our life is on the other side of the fear, right? So it is actually a true, I can relate to that, like anything, right? It's such an amazing quote. Whoever said that, I really liked it, which is what happens to all of us. It need not be in swimming, right? Swimming is a different medium, ocean is a different medium than a land. So you are putting yourself in a different medium and trying to, thrive in that medium. It's not just survival, it's thriving in that medium. So it is getting out of your comfort zone and trying to do something. For example, in Catalina Channel swim that I did in 2019, the entire swim or the major portion of the swim is in the night, throughout the
Okay.
night. It starts at 10 p.m. in the night from the island of Catalina, and you swim towards the mainland LA. And I had never done a night swim till that point in time,
Oh,
in
till
a
the point.
ocean. Yes.
Not even a training attempt to swim in the nighttime. Oh,
No,
wow.
as part of training, I did for a couple of hours here and there, but
Okay.
this was like continuous 8 hours of night swimming. And that was a kind of a huge, intimidating moment, to be very, very honest. Um, and the sea was extremely rough. It's a Pacific Ocean, and it was very rough. It was always known to be very rough.
Yeah.
And and it was a pretty dark day. There was no moonlight even. So I couldn't even figure out where the waves, how high the waves are. And whenever I would come out for taking a breath, tilt my head, I would actually gulp, yes, a solid quantity of seawater. And it was very, very challenging. And and there was also a lot of bioluminescence effect that was going on in that water, and it's very, very prominent. It's lovely. You see those sparkles of colorful lights, glittering lights. Every time you put your hand inside and catch the water, you will experience that. It was such a nice thing, but it also actually, when the big fishes go around you, they also start emitting the lights, and it was quite a bit of a scary thing initially. But to come back to your question, I initially was terribly intimidated, and I wasn't sure if I want to continue and so on. But then I paused for a moment and said, okay, this is what I chose to do. Nobody compelled me to do, nobody wanted me to do, and nobody's expecting me to do this. This is me choosing to live in this particular
And In
environment.
fact,
It's
many would not want you to do that, especially your family
yeah,
members.
exactly. Yes.
Mm.
And I felt, this is where I feel more at, I enjoy the moment, except for those other scary things. I enjoy being in the water. I enjoy the long swims and so on. I told myself that, okay, if you're going to be scared, you better go back to shore. Don't come inside the sea. Right? Now you're inside the sea, you better enjoy, irrespective of what happens to you, what happens to, the surroundings. That was a moment of pivot in my mind, actually, that happened. And I just let go of my fear. I just let go of my fear. I said, I don't care what happens. I will just enjoy this moment. I will just enjoy the night and just started focusing on my swim. It was such a transformational moment. I tell you, it was so liberating. I couldn't really, believe that I let go of all that. It was so much of weightlessness in your mind and emotion, right? And the best part is at the dawn, break of dawn, as the sun came up, there were hundreds of dolphins which surrounded me and kind of gave me a welcome cheer. It
Wow.
was such a
Okay.
momentous occasion where, I was, in a close marine life for that kind of a period. It was amazing. It was so, so energizing. I felt
Okay.
like this is really, really worth it for whatever I had done the
No,
previous night.
I'm having goosebumps now. This is
So it,
incredible. Now, so
yes,
you let go of your fear, and you are treated by bioluminescence in the night, and then the daytime. The dolphins coming and sharing is it's
yes,
incredible. So now coming back to the family, now I'm sure when the family must have a mix of anxiety and
yeah,
also cheering. They're probably the biggest cheerleaders, right? So next to you, they kind of always take pride in talking about your accomplishments. And because in the land, when we talk about marathon runners, we always say that there are these health seekers who like to walk, who like to jog, and then some of them like to run the 5K 10K races, maybe for some accomplishment. And then some of them do marathons, and some of them do ultras. And then there are these ultimate nutcases, including me once upon a time, would do long hours of running, or even because those are the time I was very far away from the family, but you still know that you're in the land, somebody can reach you on the phone. And I'm sure your family members would have had this experience. What do they say when you probably come back home and then talk about all this? The positive experience fine when you talk about. I don't know if you had ever had issues with the wild animals, the wild side of, like, the shark is the first thing. I remember watching the movie Jaws. I would not sleep for a week long. Just watching the scene of shark was. What happens when you go back and describe these things with your family member, or have they kind of given up on you that, okay, whatever you say doesn't make sense, you're going to go on?
yeah. No, actually, it's a very touchy topic, quite honestly, Kay, because within my family, or even for that matter, extended family, I'm the first generation swimmer, and nobody, like none of my grandfathers or great grandfathers, nobody was involved or associated with the sport of swimming. So it was one guy in the family wanting to go all over and swim and so on. It was not an easy thing for anyone to accept, and particularly when it became ocean swimming, obviously my wife was freaking out. But there, I took a very calculated step of going as part of a group, right? So instead of doing anything solo, so the comfort of a group was there, and not only for me, but also for the family. They felt okay, he's not alone. So there are others, and we all became like one big swim family, right? So it was really in that sense gave some amount of orientation for my family to get used to the fact that I'm going to do some crazy swims later on. So I did multiple relay swims, right? And the best part is nowadays with all the technology, anyone can track the
Snack.
swim easily. Yeah, that is an advantage. in a larger sense, and also with all the WhatsApp video calls and so on, family can always make a call to somebody on the boat and say, "Can I see Srikant swimming?" So it was all aiding the overall, the emotional thing, right? How do they manage? Because it's more often than not, it is the swimmer who will not know what the family is actually going through back home, parents, elderly parents, wife, children. Obviously, they are wondering whether this guy is going to come back home or not, right? I mean, it'll obviously be there even somewhere in the corner. There is a risk element, right? Whatever said and done, this is a wild water, open water swim is not a controlled environment by any means.
Yeah.
So there is always an iota of risk associated, but most of the risks are largely mitigated also. And that is why, in fact, many of the swimmers who come to me requesting for guidance, I say, don't underestimate sea swimming, ocean swimming, or even for that matter, lake swimming. Don't go alone. You may be a great swimmer in the pool. For any of these open water swim, always have someone by your side, either on a kayak or another swimmer, somebody who can
Watch.
really be there
Watch.
when you are in trouble, because you don't know what kind of trouble you will get into,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, so these are definitely, obviously the moments when family goes through a lot. First few sims, my wife was really, she was going through a lot of emotional trauma, but I think over a period of time, she got used to this, and probably she also got more and more aware of the
Right.
sport, how the risks are mitigated, how the crew safety is handled by the crew, and to large extent. And I think it was yeah, it kind of, yeah. I mean, at some point, yeah, they probably have to accept the fact that he's not going to be keeping quiet.
I think beyond a point in time and accepting and respecting the desire to do something because it's so personal. I guess these goals are very personal, and then yes, the family has their own uh, kind of concerns, and but how long can you live under the safety net, right? So, and then that's where you break away, right? You break away and do things which are very
Yeah,
incredible, very powerful, very inspiring. It's not. I think it's not just about your journey because when I see there's a lot of parallels, right? So we can draw from the endurance sports, and it is definitely inspiring. Now, let's kind of switch topic to the initiative that you've been very passionate about, with breast cancer. So, I had a victim within my family, breast cancer
so
victim, and it
mhm.
was very traumatic experience, especially women much younger age falling victim to that. So, what was the idea behind you talking about breast cancer? And I'm sure there are many women runners at a young age to middle age. And if you really look at the population of the ultra marathon runners, the UTI ultra runners, so most of them are in the age bracket of between 30 to 50, right? So I'm sure they are, going by breast cancer and its craziness, the vulnerable population. So, what is your story connection with breast cancer, and what
Yeah.
are you thinking about?
Thank you for asking this, Kay, because I believe there is quite a bit of um, ignorance about this disease. That's what I've been learning continuously in every interaction. And I also was very ignorant about this disease till 2011 or so, when I had actually an opportunity to work in a research and development group when I was with GE Healthcare in when we were involved in design and development of mammography products. Obviously, when we design some product which is meant to help in the diagnosis or in the treatment, you first try to understand what is this disease all about and who are the people involved, stakeholders. It's not just mostly the patients alone, the caregivers, the clinical specialists,
Yeah.
doctors, everybody come into the picture. And I'm so sorry to hear about your loss. But then I also had a few close family member going through. Luckily, the detection happened in time, and we were able to bring them back to a healthy lifestyle with minor interventions and so on. But then when I started, trying to talk about it in various forums, I realized that the more educated we are, lesser aware we are about the disease, about the causes of the disease, about how the early warnings can be easily ignored, particularly in country like India. I realize that there is so much of a social stigma associated with talking about women's breast, right? And it is not a hallway conversation that any family would like to have, right? And women typically tend to keep it within themselves, hoping that things will, get better automatically, and that's a normal mentality, right? First of all, there is a rejection. Nothing wrong with me, and secondly, yeah, it'll all get over. I will be okay. I'm healthy. I'm young and all that. But when I started, interacting, I learned, like you said, yeah, I mean, more and more younger people were falling prey to this, the dangerous disease, and then that's when I took it on myself to, do whatever possible, even if I'm able to save one person, raise the awareness for one family. I believe, that can really be a very, very, satisfying thing, right? So as I kept doing some of these swims, I also realized why not use these swim to put the spotlight on this dangerous disease, right? So that is when I also teamed up with an organization called Swim Across America. It's an American organization which is primarily using swimming as a vehicle to really generate, a lot of funds. And those funds are very, very carefully, invested for early stage research work. Before the federal funding comes in, some of the research work needs some funding by private people, and this particular organization does a very good job of putting that seed fund, in some sense, a seed fund to enable the researchers to carry on with their work. And that was a really a good thing. I used that to, in my Molokai campaign, and also subsequently in all my swims, I try to raise this point and start talking about it every year. During the month of October, I
Yes, good.
run this campaign and try to raise this awareness. Yeah, I think there is so much to learn about it, and there is and it's the sad part is the disease is easily detectable, very easily detectable if we know what to look for. And that is where the crux of the whole thing is. So if women can be made aware of what, the changes in their breast to look for, it can be very easily
Yeah, no,
caught early in the
I've
game.
seen I've seen a lot of brochures. Of course, we speak about that at home. I've got two women at my home, my daughter, wife, about need for self examination, and I'm sure this is a very very crucial topic because this is preventable. That's good to know, right? So when you know how to find out the signs of any issues, and I can always have a conversation with them. If there are young girls, they can talk to their mothers, and let's say parents, they can always take them to a doctor for some kind of an examination. So it's a very powerful topic, and it's incredible to know that you're already driving this initiative, and I'll be happy to talk about this more and then also get involved in future if there is an opportunity. So now we're kind of coming to the fag end of this conversation. Now you mentioned about the ocean, the seven, right? So the adventure, and I also came to know a little while ago that you've done some parts of it alone or solo, some parts of it with your team. So what exactly is this Ocean 7 challenge, and how far are you into this journey? If we can kind of, I know these are long conversation, for the interest of time, if we can kind
Yeah,
of
sure,
zip it for us,
sure,
please go
sure.
ahead.
Yeah, Ocean 7 is somewhat equivalent to the Summit 7 that we have on the mountaineering side. So the seven oceans are, historic swims, including the English Channel, Catalina Channel. Then you have the North Channel between Scotland and Ireland. Then we have the Strait of Gibraltar between the Europe and African continent. Then we have Cook Strait in the New Zealand, and we have Molokai Channel, which is between two islands in the island of Molokai, Oahu, and um, and then the last one is the one in Japan. It's called Sugaru Channel, which is again a very, very interesting channel. So these are the seven channels that constitute, to this particular challenge. Yeah, and I've so far completed three of them as a solo swimmer, and two other I have swam in. Molokai, I swam in that as as a solo swim. However, I had to abort after about 12 and a half hours of swim due to a huge physical discomfort with the Portuguese manowar sting. And yeah, that is one swim which I have a DNF. Then, of course, the North Channel, I did a two-person relay. It's one of the coldest waters, actually super cold. And, very proud to say that we were the first Indian team to have done, even an Asian team for that matter, to have attempted. In fact, we were the first men's team to have attempted that. We have kind of a record on that. And yeah, so yeah, I still have four more to go. So
Okay.
I'm looking forward to knocking them off one at a time.
So
Coming,
I
yes.
envy you sound like that wise man who figured out what to do in life.
I'm still
Oh my
learning. The
goodness.
best part is I'm still learning.
No, okay, I've got a bunch of rapid fire questions. I try to come up with a few of them, and let's see if you can answer them. Okay, what is scarier? You're a CTO of a company, a shark in the water, or a software bug on a release day?
I think a software bug is always, yeah, the scariest part because you have a whole lot of credibility, integrity issue which is at stake there. Shark is
Okay.
something which is, yeah, you know how to manage
Yeah,
in
you
some
don't
sense.
manage it. It's going to decide to manage you. Interesting answer. Thank you. Now, if you could bring one gadget while swimming, if you're given the liberty to choose a gadget, what would that be?
I would love to have a music pod. Um, but yeah, that's not
So what,
allowed.
what, what would be the let's say the music that'll be played. Let's assume that you have a music part.
Yeah, I would love to play my playlist. Typically I love listening to Rahman and Ilayaraja hits. So I'm my 80s and 90s guy, so I have a lot of soft corner for those music. So
Amazing.
I would definitely love to. And yes, that's really great thing.
So we say Rotan and Reed says same here. Thank you very much. All right. So if what is your go-to snack? Let's say in the middle of the swim, you mentioned that you feel that hunger pangs. Would you like to have an energy bar or a busy bella bath?
I would go for a dink ladu.
Sorry?
Dink ladu. Ladu.
Oh, Lado. Okay. Uh-huh. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. That's my favorite go-to
Snack
you know
in
snack.
the middle of
Yes,
the
yes.
And is it homemade? Is it
Yeah,
made by your
yeah,
wife?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
usually
yeah.
connectivity. Fine.
Yeah, a good
Interesting.
friend of mine, his mom makes it for me for my big swims.
Okay. Okay.
I'm very, very forever grateful to her and to him for making it for me.
That's amazing. So, what is more unpredictable, ocean currents or Bangalore traffic?
Oh, it's a no-brainer. Come on. We all know the answer.
So, if you would like to pick
Predictably
a fight,
unpredictable. Bangalore traffic. Predictably unpredictable.
I know, we're all responsible for that. So, I'm not going to pick more on that. So, if you had to pick a fight, would you pick a fight with jellyfish or with a shark?
It's a very tough one. I don't think I will pick a fight with either of them. I would
It,
rather swim away from both of them. They are equally, painful. Yeah, I
okay.
would definitely don't want to do any panga with any of them.
So, because equivalent to street dogs for runners, I'm sure. What is that for you on the ocean?
I think jellyfishes are more prevalent and common. And yes, so I've had my share of jellyfish stings, and even this Portuguese manowar is somewhere di at a different level altogether. The pain that it inflicts on your body is my God. I couldn't even imagine the kind of pain that I was put into.
Okay. So now, what is that one thing is probably the last question. So what is the one thing that you say to yourself before you get into the ocean? What is the one thing that you say when you come out of the ocean, the other side?
I just pray to my favorite gods when I get in, hoping to reach the other end. And when I reach the other end, I would love to have a quick call with my family and say that I'm all okay. Hopefully, I'm all okay.
No, that's not
Yeah,
not-
and yes, definitely. I know I can. I think the I would say probably the thought always that overwhelms me is more of gratitude, for giving me those experiences, right? When I started swimming, I did not have any of these in my agenda, any of this, but then somebody is, you know, kind of blessing me with these experiences. I can't thank, enough for giving me those experiences. And yes, that is all I can be thinking at those moments, right? Even at the start of English Channel, that's the only thought went through my mind.
you know,
Yeah.
that's incredible and powerful. I know that there is this, always this mighty superpower we all
Yes,
need to be appreciative of, and
yes, absolutely.
incredible. It's really amazing. Srikant, there's been a quick, not enough justice done to talk about your life and your career adventures in the ocean. I wish we had more time to speak, and I'm sure we can always do that outside of this Instagram. I'm also going to invite you to come and experience Uti Ultra. It's going to be on the 23rd of March, the 8th edition, because I think it's always good to introduce people with different perspective. I want to get introduced, and it's also probably one of the selfish reasons why I decided to speak to you, because I want to learn from this experience, secretly get inspired by what you've been doing. And it's really remarkable. The day when I saw you, this is what running in my mind. And okay, I don't think I can even think about swimming ocean, but I can actually touch the person who swam the oceans and talk to them. So
Yes.
that's your story is extremely powerful, and you also mentioned something that's going to be always with me, especially when you say that. You said something like it all the fear it's in the
Ev-
other end.
Everything that we want in life is on the other side of fear,
Exactly.
right? Mm.
So we always say that the grass is greener on the other end, but it's a very different perspective, very powerful. And
I, I
let's
I would like to add one phrase which I coined out of my own experiences. It's
yes,
called it goes like this: limits of our capabilities reside only within the boundaries of our mind. So our
okay.
capabilities are only defined or restricted by the boundaries of the mind that we set for ourselves.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's mind limiting ourselves. It's
Yes.
incredible. Very powerful. Thank you. You're definitely a living example. And those who have joined this conversation, I wish we had a house full here, but I'm very positive that this video can be shared. It's very difficult to get everybody on at the same time, but I'm very incredibly thankful to you, Srikant, for accepting my request and also sharing your story. It's very powerful. I would like to see you at the Uti Ultra as a guest. And if you want to run and experience Uti Ultra, why not?
Yep.
We can always do that. So those who are watching this program, every challenge is an opportunity to grow, right? So this is really incredible. And then be sure to follow Srikant's incredible journey. He has got much more accolades to bring for for the country and also for him and the inspiring world around him. Really incredible. I'm very thankful for having this opportunity to talk to you, Srikant. Thank you very much, and
Thank you.
more strength to you. And say hello to all your family members, and the kudos to all the incredible work that you're doing in developing awareness towards breast cancer. Very important topic. Thank you very much, Srikant. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Kay, for having me here, for giving me this opportunity to talk to your audience, and wish everyone a great run in the Ooty Ultra Run. And I look forward to seeing you all in March. Thank you.
Brilliant. All right. Thank you very much. And I'm going to close this conversation. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.